Well, 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 fancy seeing all of you here. Welcome back to our nightly DraftKings show we call The Sweat, alongside the Jessie, Coffield. I am Emerson, Lotzia. We aim to please.
And apparently so do our analysts. Welcome home to this DK Live duo of Jeff Ulrich and Greg Ehrenberg. And we have a new face to the program tonight. Tucker Silva of 98.5 The Sports Hub here in Boston. He is co-host of their fantasy football show on Sunday mornings.
All right, before we kick the tires and light the fires here, how about we take a trip down memory lane to something Gregory said here on The Sweat just yesterday morning.
If Treadwell goes under 10 fantasy points, I will eat a lime with the rind as a promotion for the show next week.
Wow! I love this. We were recording. We were rolling on this show. We have it. We will reference the tape next week. Oh, man.
And here we are 30 hours later, and Laquan Treadwell, he records under 6 points.
Yeah.
So what do you have to say for us now, Greg?
Yeah, well, first of all, the way that the audio works here, I can't hear what I said. I vaguely remember it. I also can't see you guys right now because something isn't working totally properly.
All right, well, I'm just getting. Let me interrupt you here real quick. You said if Laquan Treadwell goes under 10 fantasy points, you would eat a lime with the rind. Okay.
And not only do I stand by that, except I went to the grocery store today. I got a lemon because who knows the difference between a lemon and a lime?
Well,
and
I
thought
do.
I said lemon. I didn't totally remember. Well, that's ridiculous. What are you, Menza?
Yeah.
Like I don't know the difference. I'm a football guy. I don't know fruits. Is it a fruit? Is it a vegetable? I don't know. But I will eat it. I have it with me right here. Do we want to open the show with it? Do we want to close the show? How do we want to handle it?
I think we should close the show with it.
Okay.
We should make you look at that lemon the whole show.
Which should be a lime.
Yeah,
yes. Okay.
Lime,
so everyone hang tight and you will watch him eat the lime or the lemon, whatever, with the rind on it. It's good stuff. I would like to point out, though, it was an off-the-wall pick for Greg, a reach play, so those are definitely hit or miss, but you're a man of your word. The people at home are better for it, and we'll appreciate you for it at the end of the show.
Yeah, now we're going to get in and play some NFL Spin Move, where we put a fantasy spin on the latest NFL headlines from yesterday. So starting with the Saints, who ended the Rams' perfect record with a 45-35 win, and it was vintage Drew Brees putting up 34.44 DK points and helping Michael Thomas to a franchise record 211 receiving yards. So is there any reason to believe Brees, he's 6,300, won't hit 30-plus DK points again next week against the Bengals? Jeff, please take it away.
Okay, first of all, just message to Greg. Never make those kind of promises on the show or any show you're on.
That is right.
Work better, man. Like,
we'll make you do it.
Amateur hour here.
Just don't do it. Anyways, look, 30 points from Drew Brees. He's done it. I get he's done this twice in his last 4 games, but last year I don't think he hit 30 DK points once last year. The Saints have turned into more of a power running team with Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara. And then you also add in the fact that Taysom Hill is now taking goal line carries and some fourth down, where he's even playing on regular downs sometimes running the ball. So I think last week was kind of a special circumstance. You had an offense like the Rams who could keep up with the Saints. And the Saints had to rely more on the arm of Drew Brees, but they don't really want to do that. They want to run the ball a little bit more than they did last week, and they're not always going to have a great matchup with Michael Thomas and Marcus Peters. So I'm always going to take the under on this. It's nothing against Drew Brees. I just feel like the way the Saints are built right now, it's not necessarily the best upside spot for Drew Brees going forward.
Tucker, do you agree with Jeff? You think it was really just a result of the matchup?
Yeah, I actually 100% agree with Jeff. I think you're going to see a lot more run involvement from the Saints going forward, especially coming off of that massive shootout with the Rams. It was a massive win, and I think you're going to see a lot more Mark Ingram getting involved with him getting back from the suspension. I think you're going to see more reps from Ingram going forward. And by the way, Brees on the road this year, aside from that shootout earlier in Atlanta, where it was an insane score, Brees hasn't surpassed 215 yards on the road this year, aside from that Atlanta game. So with the Bengals coming off a bye, I think that they're going to be looking to bury the Baltimore Ravens further down the standings there. So I think they're going to be jacked up to face the Saints. And I think you're going to see a lot more handoffs coming from Drew Brees this week.
Greg, what do you think? Seems like everybody doesn't have that much faith in Drew Brees here.
Yeah, well, first to Jeff, not only do I not regret the bet, but I'm going to be doubling down at it. I'm going to pay it off. I'm going to make some other bets. Probably not on LaQuad Treadwell. It's going to be somebody else who I lay it down with. But either way, if we look at Drew Brees for this week, he has 430 fantasy point games this year. 3 of them have come at home. 1 of them have come on the road, and it was in Atlanta. So that means all of them have been in domes. If I want to look at the number one reason that I don't think he's going to score 30-plus fantasy points, it's because he's not in a dome game.
All right, Tucker, yet another comeback attempt falling short for Ryan Fitzpatrick and the Bucs. However, in typical Fitzmagic fashion, still puts up 4 touchdowns, 26 fantasy points. So what makes you think he can keep delivering with 25-plus points as the Bucs host the Redskins in Week 10, bud?
Well, I think that Fitzpatrick can keep this up because the Bucs are always playing from behind because their defense is just putrid. It's awful. So, I mean, there's plenty of offensive weapons, obviously, in the Bucs offense. O.J. Howard, Mike Evans, Deshaun Jackson, Godwin even, you name it. He's got a whole arsenal of offensive weapons there. But I think mainly it's because the Bucs are always playing from behind. So I think Ryan Fitzpatrick is always going to be a sure bet to put up 20-plus fantasy points week in and week out. And I don't think you're going to be seeing any Jameis Winston coming back for the Bucs this year. I think they're done with him. So Fitzmagic will continue, and I think he's a tremendous value going forward on DK.
Greg, where do you sit on this as well? You think he continues 25-plus points as the Bucs host the Redskins?
Yeah, so that's going to be a no for me. Like, I still don't buy into Ryan Fitzpatrick. There's a reason that he lost the starting job. There's a reason that he was out of an NFL gig a couple of years ago and got cut by the Jets. He's not very good. And if you look at the games where he's put up big fantasy point totals, he's very reliant on coming back from behind. So I think it was a good point to say that, hey, their defense is so bad, they're going to be playing from behind. But as weird as this is to say, one of the reasons I don't like his fantasy point output as much this week is because the Redskins are not very good. If he was playing against a better team, I think I would feel more confident that he's going to get more garbage points towards the end of the game. But the fact that this should be a little bit more competitive of a game, I don't feel as great about the easy points for Fitzpatrick towards the end.
Jeffrey's $5,900. I mean, you dropped that change thinking he's going to get you 25-plus?
This is a weird spot. I mean, you look at Washington, they've allowed 2 big games to quarterbacks, but those quarterbacks have been Matt Ryan and Drew Brees. And most of the time, you know, they play close games and they don't really get into shootouts because they don't get that far ahead of their opponent. Greg's right. Like, they're not like that great a team. But then you have Tampa, who's also not that good and seem to fall behind every week. This game does have a big point total, though. It's 52.5 looking at it right now. Like, the Bucs have a big implied team total. So I think there's a chance he's going to get there. If I really had to take a side, I'm going to say under because I just look at Washington and what they do. I think they're just going to make this an uglier game. And I just don't think the Bucs are going to get as far behind as they have against better opponents. So I'll take the under this week with the hedge of saying that, there's still some upside in this matchup.
Guys, the Chargers, a surprising 6-2 in the AFC West. They head to Oakland on Sunday and have opened as 10-point road favorites against the Raiders. Do you like where that line sits, Greg?
Yeah, so that's a really big line for any team playing on the road. But if I look at what the Raiders have done so far this year, like, I'm not convinced they haven't just totally quit on John Gruden at this point. They lost by 31 points to the backup to C.J. Beathard last week. So if they're going to lose games, like, we could see them totally get blown out in a lot of their losses this week. I don't see a whole lot of reason to think that they're going to be competitive. Maybe there's a little bit of recency bias built into how poorly they played last week. But still, I think that I'm going to favor the Chargers to win by double-digit points this week.
Jeff, what do you think? Where do you sit with this?
You know, I've pretty much watched every NFL game for the past 4 seasons, and I don't think I've ever, and I'm really not being hyperbolic here or exaggerating, I don't think I've ever seen a team play and not give as much effort as the Raiders did last week. There's honestly, I don't know if there's a line big enough for me not to take the Chargers. I mean, it's just, I don't even care that they're at home, and most NFL teams do bounce back after bad games. It's just, I just don't know how the Raiders are going to stay within 10 points because the Chargers are rounding into form right now, and they were a pretty good team at the start of the year too. So I'm not that surprised they're 6-2, but yeah, I'd still take the Chargers.
John Gruden still has 9 years to figure it out there in Oakland. So.
Oh yeah,
that's true.
Be fine.
You're 8.
Yeah, just a little while
That's
longer.
When I'll get it done.
Tucker, where do you sit on this one? 10-point road favorites. How do you feel?
Yeah, I mean, the thing with the Raiders, the Chargers going on the road to face the Raiders is you kind of have to have a home field advantage and be good for it to be a factor in any line, and the Raiders are just not that. They really don't have a home field advantage. And by the way, LA is not a far ride. If Chargers fans want to make it out there, I don't see why they would. But
True.
If the score was 14, I'd be comfortable taking the Chargers. The Chargers are going to absolutely blow out the Raiders. 10, I'm totally comfortable with. I would totally bet that all day.
All right, you three, please stick around. We're going to have you back for some NFL hangover talk here momentarily, following NBA pick and roll.
Time for your DraftKings Fantasy Flash. I'm Brendan Glasheen. The much-anticipated debut of Amari Cooper in Cowboy white and blue. Cooper and the 3-4 Cowboys host the 3-4 Titans on Monday Night Football. Cooper hasn't played since Week 6. 22 catches, 280 yards at the midway point of the season. All of that with Oakland, of course. Dallas certainly hoping shelling out a first-round pick for the former 4th overall selection in the draft is worth it, and Cooper regains his Pro Bowl form. He immediately becomes the boys' best wide receiver. He's an outside outlet for Dak Prescott, which then means there's a bit more freedom in the slot for Cole Beasley. Cooper will cost you $12,600 as a captain, $8,400 in a flex role. But be cautious, as the Titans' defense reps the league's 5th best pass defense. Mike Vrabel's D also has been stout on the ground, so think twice before rostering Ezekiel Elliott at $19,500 at captain, $13K, still hefty, as a flex. Tennessee has allowed only 3 rushing touchdowns all season. At the end of the day here, folks, you got to take some risks and play some people. The Cowboys do have this thing going for them. All 3 of their wins this year have come at Jerry World. Good luck tonight.
All right, time to hoop it up with a couple of bros who go by the name of Shirag Hira of DK Live and Nick Whalen. It's a pleasure to have you both here on The Sweat.
All right, let's play some NBA pick and roll. We give you 2 options, and you tell us which one you like more. Pick one, roll off the other. You know how that works.
I get it.
Guys, yeah. Hey, Nick, Blake Griffin has 45-plus DK points in 3 straight, including 66.3 points in his last outing against the 76ers. He comes in at 9,800 against the Heat. Are you picking Blake, or will you spend down a little and play like Kawhi, priced 9,200 against the Jazz, coming in averaging 46.5 points a game this season? Who do you like here?
Give me Blake Griffin tonight. I mean, Kawhi, I think, is still a little bit banged up. It was tough to tell at first if he missed a game over the weekend, due to rest, or if it was a foot issue. And it started to look like that foot might be bothering him a bit. Not really anything long-term to worry about. But if you're looking for a kind of a reason for that to be a tiebreaker, Griffin being healthy is something certainly to keep in mind. Kawhi goes up against a Utah defense that probably hasn't been quite as good as we thought it would be numbers-wise thus far, but at least in theory, should be able to give Toronto a little bit more trouble than Miami should against Detroit. Other than the one dud against Boston last week, Blake's been up over 42 DraftKings points in every game thus far. He's already got 2 games of over 60 DraftKings points and another just below 60. No Hassan Whiteside from Miami tonight. That's their best rim protector, their best rebounder. With Whiteside, Miami's been a top 10 rebounding team this season, but Detroit's number 1 in defensive rebound percentage. And that's where Griffin's derived a ton of his value this year. His rebounding numbers have kind of taken a hit in recent seasons, but he's got at least 10 boards in 5 of 8 games thus far. His 10.9 rebounds per game coming into tonight would be his best number since the 2011-12 season. So I like this resurgent, healthy Blake Griffin that we've seen thus far. I'll go with him, even though he's a little bit more expensive than Kawhi tonight.
Shrug, what do you think? You going to pay up for Griffin, or do you want to save some cash and go with Kawhi?
Definitely between these two, I have to pick BG too easy. Blake Griffin does not have that injury concern that Kawhi has, like you mentioned. And he also has the best individual matchup on the Pistons. The Heat ranked 24th in defensive efficiency against power forwards, and Griffin leads the team with a 30% true usage rate. Add in the fact that this game is tied with the Dubs for 3rd highest projected total. It's pretty easy to side with Griffin here.
Fair enough.
Shirag, you look like you have a very comfortable computer seat.
Say what?
Like the chair you're in. It looks very very comfortable.
Oh yeah, it is super comfortable. It leans back actually too. I can take a nap.
Oh wow!
Oh yeah, buddy. All right, don't fall asleep just yet, okay? That's your job to help out the people at home. If you take out 260 fantasy point performances last week, T-Wolves big man Karl Anthony Towns is averaging just around 34 DK points a game. He's going to cost you $8,500 at the Clippers tonight. So, Chirag, is he your dude, or would you like to spend down a little and play a guy like Rudy Gobert, $8,000 against the Raptors? That guy's averaging north of 42 fantasy points a game.
Well, honestly, there's a ton of value big men already popping up on this slate, and we are expected to have Jimmy Buckets back in the lineup tonight, so I can't see myself paying up for Towns. Rudy Gobert, on the other hand, also is getting a usage bump with Donovan Mitchell out due to an ankle injury, so it's pretty straightforward. Play the Cypher Tower if you're looking to pay up in tournaments.
Nick Whalen of RotoWire, is it that straightforward for you?
You know, it wasn't quite so straightforward. I think this is a tough one. The matchups are really similar in terms of defensive rating, pace, rebound percentage, things like that you're concerned about when it comes to centers. Clippers have had a little bit of trouble slowing down centers, but they have pivoted now towards Boban Marjanovic, Montrezl Harrell, away from Marcin Gortat, who is someone, that was obviously getting exploited earlier this season. So I think Towns maybe has the higher upside, but I've watched him a few times this year. He looks tentative. He doesn't really look like the same confident Karl Towns we've seen in recent seasons. So I'm going to go with Gobert. I think he's a little bit safer. Scoring's been down a little bit the last couple of games. I know in theory he should get a little bit of a bump with Donovan Mitchell out, but Gobert's not a guy you're really going to funnel the ball to. I think he gets a lot of his points because of Donovan Mitchell and what he's able to create around the rim. So, I think his rebounding's been really consistent, even if you're worried a little bit about the scoring. Up close to 14 rebounds per game for Gobert, hasn't dipped below 11 boards in any single game. So, unlike Towns, not going to give you assists, not going to give you any threes, but this could be a night where he bounces back with a lot of rebounds. And of course, Gobert's always capable of 3, 4, even 5 blocks.
Hey guys, the Pelicans and Thunder with the highest total on the slate, sitting at 237.5. You taking the over or under here, Nick?
I'm going to go over. I mean, these are two teams trending in complete opposite directions right now. OKC's offense finally starting to click with Russell Westbrook back up to speed. Pelicans have struggled a bit with Anthony Davis banged up. Sounds like he's going to play tonight, but they will not have Elfrid Payton. Still going to go over. 238 is a big number. These teams have already combined, though, for 8 games in which there have been at least 238 points. It's happened in over half of the Pelicans games thus far. So, it seems like a big number, but it's really by no means inconceivable. Pelicans come into tonight 5th in pace, 25th in defense, but they're allowing the 2nd most points per game and scoring the 4th most. OKC's defense has actually been pretty solid. They've turned things around since those first 3 or 4 games, but they're another team that likes to get out and transition. So with what we've seen from these teams thus far, I mean, there's basically a 50-50 chance if you look at the results. I'll say over.
Chirag, what do you think, over or under?
Well, Beastbrook is in midseason form. PG-13 has the best matchup in this game. But the thing that really concerns me is the Pelicans here. They're projected for a total that is 3 points below their season average. Anthony Davis's usage has normalized a little bit since his elbow injury, even though he's playing like 39, 41 minutes. Like he mentioned, Elfrid Payton is still missing, but Nikola Mirotic has stepped it up. Even though this is a pace-up game for both teams, I'm going to take the under. But I'd only take the over if it was over 235. But at 237, 238, I'm taking the under here.
And for everyone on YouTube asking if we pay attention to the side chat in the comments, yes, you heard Nick Whalen mention that it does look like Anthony Davis is going to play. There's video of him right now on the court, pregame warm-up. So do what you will with that information. Guys, we'll play Tears of Joy with you momentarily. But next, what do we got? NFL know-it-alls? They're back.
Brendan Glasheen here with your DraftKings Fantasy Flash. Fun few weeks lately in Los Angeles, hey? LeBron's on the Lakers, Dodgers reach the World Series, and the Rams are tied for the best record in football at 8-1. There's another team in La La Land that's flying under the radar. The Chargers, they've won 5 games in a row, 6-2 for the first time since 2006. That was when Phillip Rivers was a first-year starter. The 36-year-old QB made his 200th consecutive start Sunday against the Seahawks. Only other signal callers who have done that, Brett Favre and 2 brothers with the last name Manning. Chargers have risen to 3rd in the AFC thanks to Rivers and company. Keenan Allen logged 100 receiving yards while Melvin Gordon ran for a hundo on the ground, plus scored a touchdown in the team's win Sunday at Seattle. Now ESPN's Adam Schefter is reporting another weapon could be added to the mix. Tight end Hunter Henry tore his ACL in May, has a chance to return to action next month. Now, whether or not Henry returns in time to make a real impact on your lineups, we'll have to wait and see. But the Chargers will certainly welcome him to ensure a run to the postseason.
Is this my read?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I thought you were starting.
No.
You know when you have a huge, unreal weekend, and then the next day, you kind of just want to curl up into a ball, maybe, stuff yourself into a Snuggie or something?
Yeah.
Well, that's called a hangover.
And hangovers are exactly what we want to talk about with DK Live duo Jeff Ulrich and Greg Ehrenberg, plus Tucker Silva, co-host of 98.5 The Sports Hub's fantasy football show on Sunday mornings.
All right, this says my name. I will read. These hangovers are football related, though. Basically, which player with a big Week 9 performance could see some regression in Week 10. We call it NFL hangover because we're smart like that, or at least our producers are.
Yeah, they are. So 49ers' Nick Mullins opened eyes with his Thursday night debut against the Raiders, scoring 22.18 fantasy points. Now the 49ers host the Giants in Week 10. So can he have a repeat performance against the G-Men, Jeff?
Man, if this was any other team, you know what? I'm just going to do it anyways. Nick Mullins, I think that was a complete fluke performance against the Raiders. I mean, obviously, I already went on record about how bad the Raiders played last week. But look, kudos to him. He took advantage of some big plays, but he got bailed out by George Kittle on a one-handed pass. He was basically just going with his first read the whole game. No, I don't think he's going to repeat this performance. And I'm so confident that even the horrible team that the Giants are, that he's not going to repeat this performance, that Greg will eat a lime on the next show if the Giants don't win that game, okay? So Nick Mullins, under 22 fantasy points. Greg will eat a lime. Giants have to win as well. So,
Tucker,
I'm riding on that feed, Greg.
We're not going to make you eat any limes yet, Tucker, but what do you think about this one?
I would eat the limes if I had some tequila with that. But,
I like you, Tucker.
Right? Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I don't think he's going to have 22 points. No, I mean, he was playing the Raiders. I just, railed on the Raiders earlier. But, I think he'll have a respectable outing. I mean, it's another prime time game. They're home. The Giants are traveling across the country. And it's two crap teams. So, I really do think you can just plug in a quarterback in Kyle Shanahan's system, and they're going to have some success. We saw C.J. Beathard has some success. Obviously, Jimmy Garoppolo, too. Do I think he's going to hit 22? No, I would probably bet the under, but it wouldn't surprise me either. Again, it's just another matchup of two crappy teams. So,
Greg, two crappy teams. Can he get 22 fantasy points?
Look, I don't think he's going to score 22 fantasy points, but could he get any better of a draw to start his NFL career? He gets the Raiders, then he gets the Giants. The Giants 28th in defensive DVOA, 27th in DVOA against the pass. Like, he could not get a more favorable way to start his NFL career. But if we're being realistic here about Mullins, there's a reason that he was the backup to the backup. There's a reason that he was the backup to C.J. Beathard. And it's because nobody really thinks that he's some great quarterback. Now, for next Monday's showdown contest, I think he's probably going to be a viable option. I think he's somebody that we're going to want to roster. But yeah, under 22 fantasy points, I don't think he could do quite what he did last game.
Gregory, James Conner did it again for the Steelers, racking up more than 32 fantasy points against the Ravens. Can he put up his fifth straight 30-plus DK fantasy point game on Thursday night against Carolina's eighth best rush defense?
Well, I mean, you don't want to doubt James Conner at this point because the role for him is ridiculous. He's basically playing the Le'Veon Bell role. He's involved everywhere. He's involved in the run game. He's involved in the pass game. He's getting red zone touches. He's getting targeted in the red zone. But with that said, 30 points is so reliant on touchdowns. Like, he could go out and have 100 rushing yards. He could catch a couple passes. He could score a touchdown, still not hit 30 fantasy points. And this is a tough game against a good Carolina defense. One benefit to him going forward is that it looks like, once again, Le'Veon Bell isn't going to be there on Thursday. But under 30 fantasy points for Conner is just such a big number.
Where do you sit on this one, Tucker?
Yeah, I mean, I thought that James Conner was kind of take a step back this week, perhaps. But he proved it on the road in Baltimore. It was a tough spot, and he delivered. It was a huge division rival game, and he delivered. He proved me wrong. As for the Panthers, I think they're an average defense. I don't think they're good by any means, really. And they haven't really faced a real running back challenge in the recent weeks. They've seen the likes of Peyton Barber and Ronald Jones and the Philly committee there between Corey Clement and Wendell Smallwood. They faced AP a few weeks back. So they haven't really faced a challenge like James Conner here. And he's just become a set-it-and-forget-it guy, whether it's your weekly league or it's your daily fantasy league, I think I'm always comfortable with James Conner, and he's going to score, at least 20. He is.
Okay, so at least 20. We're talking 30 here, Jeff. I mean, this guy's been rolling. But he's on a short week, Thursday night. What do you think? 30-plus DK fantasy points? Does he have it in him?
So when Luke Kuechly's healthy, the Panthers are a defense. I almost don't even consider the running back going up against them. And you look at what they've done. I mean, they've been pretty solid. They've allowed one 100-yard rusher the entire year. I think Saquon Barkley might have sniffed 30 fantasy points against them. I don't think he quite got there, but that was on a couple screen passes late in the game, and that game got a little crazy. Connor isn't in the ever down role. So, I mean, 30 points is doable, but I think in this matchup, you have to take the under. And I think this is a much better spot for the receivers. And on the Steelers, the Carolina secondary is much more attackable. So I think this matchup might be where the Connor train just stalls a little bit. But, I mean, the guys are right. This is an every down role. I mean, he's basically the focal point in the offense. They've just slid him into the Le'Veon role. So the Connor train will keep rolling. I just think it's going to stop for a brief moment this week.
Okay.
Hey guys, Brandon Cooks did over 26 fantasy points against the Saints in Week 9. The Rams host the Seahawks in Week 10. Jeff, can Cooks put up another 20-plus fantasy points against Seattle?
I'd definitely take the under here too. I like me some Brandon Cooks, but again, he really tends to thrive in more of those up-tempo matchups. Seattle is just going to make this game ugly, kind of like they did the first week where they basically knocked Brandon Cooks out of the game. They have some physical corners, so maybe not the best matchup for Brandon Cooks either. And then you get down to the fact, again, you're not going to see the back and forth scoring in most likelihood that you saw last week where Goff has to air it out the whole game. They'll probably rely more on Todd Gurley. So Brandon Cooks can get there every week because he's a big play wide receiver. But if I had to guess, I think he's going to slow down a little bit this week. Probably see a little bit more Cooper Kupp.
Greg, 20 DK fantasy points. Where are you going?
Yeah, well, I don't want to be a total bummer at the party, so I'll take an over on Cooks because I want to be over on one of them. But also, if you look at Cooks' games this year, he's been so boom or bust. I don't think he's going to be around 20 fantasy points. He's either going to be way over or way under in all likelihood. So I think he's a great GPP play this week. He has 26 or more fantasy points in 3 games this year. Then he's also been under 15 in 4 of them. So for GPPs, I think you go fire up Brandon Cooks, but I wouldn't roster him in a cash game.
Tucker, 20 fantasy points, over or under on this one?
I'd probably lean the under there. I mean, again, it's coming off a big shootout with the Saints this past week, and he has been a little bit inconsistent. It's a boom or bust sort of thing, like the guys mentioned there. I foresee this being kind of more of a 24-20 type of game. But that being said, that Rams offense is elite, so I would expect him more in the 15-point range. And surprisingly, he actually is statistically a top 10 wide receiver, believe it or not, Brandon Cooks. And that's with him leaving the game early against Seattle with that concussion, too. So that's pretty impressive for Brandon Cooks. But still, I would take the under on 20 there. I would take the under.
All right, cool. You three take a break. All of you at home wondering where our showdown picks are. Your patience will eventually pay off. Jeff, Greg, and Tucker will return to help you guys out there. We're going to hit the ice next, though, for some hockey talk. For now, though, let's toss to Adam Levitan for Who'd I Miss On?
Hey everybody, I'm Brendan Glasheen for DK Live. This is Who'd I Miss On with Adam Levitan. Follow his coverage on DK Live and the DraftKings Playbook. Also a solid follow on Twitter as well, at Adam Levitan. We're recapping Levitan's poor picks in Week 9. Let's start with Traquan Smith. You were high on him, only 4,200 versus the Rams. The rookie receiver did score a touchdown in the Saints win, but you expected more out of him.
Yeah, I mean, only 2 catches, 3 targets. Pretty disappointing for Traquan, even though he did get the touchdown. I mean, look, Ted Ginn's role in this offense, we know, was volatile from week to week. Some weeks he'd get 6 or 7 deep targets. Some weeks they'd kind of forget about him. And in kind of a run-heavy-ish offense, even in this shootout, Drew Brees threw it under 40 times with Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara taking up so much work. There's just not that much volume to go around. So maybe it was a mistake to be too high on Traquan. If he's not going to be able to get more than 3 targets in this kind of game environment, I'm not sure when he will.
You were also high on Kyle Rudolph. The Vikings tight end was targeted just twice, and he did catch them both for 24 yards. But due to Minnesota's personnel shakeup, Stephon Diggs out, Dalvin Cook back in, those changes certainly affected things.
Yeah, I wasn't going to play Kyle Rudolph until we got the Stephon Diggs news. I mean, Stephon Diggs has such a big role in this offense. Did not expect Laquan Treadwell or Aldrick Robinson to get a lot of targets, so thought a lot of them would get shifted to Kyle Rudolph. But Kirk Cousins just has not looked Kyle Rudolph's way at the same rate that previous Vikings quarterbacks have. And maybe Kyle Rudolph is partly to blame for that, not being able to get open at the same rate that he used to. So very low ceiling on Kyle Rudolph, often very TD dependent. Thought he would see a target bump with Diggs out. It just didn't happen.
Last one, you missed on Duke Johnson. Only 1 rush, but 9 receptions on 9 targets, 78 yards, 2 touchdowns, just shy of 30 DraftKings points. I guess he's playing more of an important role in the Browns' game plans.
Yeah, this was always going to be in the range of outcomes once they changed coaches. I mean, the previous regime, the Hugh Jackson, Todd Haley regime, was so inept at getting Duke Johnson the ball in space. It looked like, and it was always possible, that this new Freddie Kitchens offense would be make it a priority to get Duke Johnson the ball in space. And that's what happened. He gets 9 targets, catches all 9. Now he's going to need negative game scripts to do that because Nick Chubb continues to play on all their early downs. The good news for Duke Johnson is that the Browns will often be in those negative game scripts. So Duke Johnson going forward, I think the arrow is certainly pointing up.
Thanks, Levitan. That's it for the Week 9 edition of Who Did I Miss On with Adam Levitan. Again, you can find him on DK Live and the DK Playbook. We'll catch you next Monday to recap Week 10.
Time for some puck chit-chat with our main man, Neil Parker of RotoWire.
You got it. You got it, girlfriend.
I did it. So we've got 5 games on the fantasy hockey docket, and we need your help.
All right, it's price check. You know the drill here, Neil. And at center, 2 players facing off in the same game would be Patrice Bergeron, $7,100. Tyler Seguin, $200 less. Tell me, who's worth the price this evening?
I'm spending up for Patty Bergeron. Dating back to last season, is combined with line mates David Pastrnak, Brad Marchand for an impressive 5.62 goals per 60 minutes. They drive possession at 5-on-5 with a 58.7 Corsi for percentage. And with Tyler Seguin, you don't have that same top line prowess. Jamie Benn probably going to skate on a different line, and Alexander Radulov, he's out of the lineup. So definitely spending up for Patty B.
All right, out on the wing, another set of players in the same game. Do you like Pittsburgh's Phil Kessel at $7,000 or the Devils' Taylor Hall at $6,900?
Can I take both?
No.
All right, let's go with Taylor Hall then. Impressive 3.8 points per 60 minutes dating back to last season. He's clicking with his line mates Kyle Palmieri, Nico Hischier for an impressive 6.35 goals, 17.99 high danger scoring chances per 60 minutes this season. And also Taylor Hall sporting a 5.6 shooting percentage. That's unsustainably low. So he's got some puck luck coming his way. Pittsburgh netminder Matt Murray owns an underwhelming 8.9. Save percentage too. So I think it's a better matchup for Hall, though I do like Phil Kessel quite a bit too. So they're both really good plays.
All right, well, now I want you to talk dirty defense to me, Mr. Parker. Just 2 men who will cost you, 2 men who will cost you more than $6,000. Pittsburgh's Chris Letang at 6'4", Washington's John Carlson, 6'2". Explain to me which one you should drop some cash on.
Well, I think the decision really comes down to which player which power play unit you're going to stack, whether it's the Washington Capitals top unit or the Pittsburgh Penguins top unit. Both are among the league's best. So depending where you're going up front with your forwards really depends on your defensemen. Both have, excellent stat coverage in the shots, points, block shots column. So they both offer really high floor, similar players, similar production, similar roles. So it's like I said, it's really up to your decision up front where you're going with your forwards. But gun to my head, I'll go with John Carlson. Better matchup with Edmonton. Pittsburgh faces the Devils, and New Jersey allows the fewest high danger scoring chances per 60 minutes in the league. So a little bit of better matchup for Washington, and therefore I would lean John Carlson.
All right, last but not least, the men between the pipes. It's a backup special. Who would you rather take? Washington's Phoenix Copley at $7,800 or Montreal's number 2 netminder, Antti Niemi, coming in at $7,300?
Oh, it's definitely Antti Niemi for me on the road, even though, and it's not even really that close. Capitals surrender the second most high danger scoring chances per 60 minutes in the league, and Copley hasn't passed the eye test to start the season, sporting an underwhelming 3.55 goals against average, 8.82 save percentage. And fun fact, Copley's from the North Pole, so maybe that's all he's got going for him.
Oh, dude.
North Pole, Alaska.
That is the best fun fact I've heard on this show.
That's right. Is that the same North Pole that Santa's at? No,
I don't know. But,
Yeah, Emerson.
I know he moves around a lot.
Any gifts?
Yeah, Emerson, that's where he lives.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah.
Great, thanks, Mom.
You're welcome.
All right, so after all that, who's your slate-approved pick? Your lock of the night, Neil.
Give me David Pasternak. Just a single goal on 19 shots. There was past 4 games, so there's a little bit of puck luck ahead of him. If he keeps firing the puck, he's got an excellent shot. I think he's gonna find the back of the net tonight. And there's nothing scary about a matchup with Dallas at this stage of the game. They're playing their 5th outing of a 6-game road trip, so looking for that road legs to catch up with them and Boston to have a strong showing, led by Patty B and David Pasternak.
All righty. Thank you, Neil.
Thanks,
Have a great night. We
Merry
appreciate
early Christmas, dude.
Yeah, best fun fact ever. So we got NBA Tears of Joy coming up after Pat Mayo gives you some advice on what to do with the often injured Rob Gronkowski.
Gronk obviously missed the game. What do you do with Gronk? I don't know what to do with him. Like, if you have him, you probably have to play him if he plays, but like, ugh.
It's bad. Yeah, I mean, and New England, obviously, A, they're super smart, and B, they're just rolling. They're not going to push him or rush him back or do anything because they don't need to. They got guys like Cordero Patterson and the gang are just carrying the load at this point. So it's a tricky situation. He's just looked, when he's playing, he's not a huge asset, and obviously he's been banged up. It's a disappointing year to say the least for Gronk.
So if this goes into a situation, let's say we throw Gronk into this tight end pickup ranking pool, and you got to think about this as a guy you play every week because it's your tight end. Rest of the season, every single week from this point forward, would you rather play Gronk or CJ Uzomah?
I have to say Gronk.
I'm going to say Gronk too, but I think the right answer might be Uzomah.
I mean, just the fact that it's not the fact that it's a question is just a testament to how disappointing it's been for Gronk. Uzomah's the kind of guy that, the targets may get up a little. His upside is just always capped in an offense like that where, Gronk has done nothing, but him and Doyle, we talked about Doyle a little earlier. They just have some games that I think kind of eclipse the ceiling of someone like Uzomah week in and week out.
But when I'm thinking about it from like a season-long perspective, what I want from my tight end is a guy that, like, I don't want to say that doesn't score 0, but if he can get like 6 to 10 points every week, I think I'm good with that.
Yeah, the floor, obviously, that's the killer with some of these guys, Gronk included at this point. It's negligible. It used to not obviously be like that. We'll have to wait and see. AJ Green is certainly going to factor into that. If AJ Green is healthier, is missing only a small amount of time, that's going to be a knock on someone like Uzomah, who's already struggling to carve out enough targets.
That's a completely fair point. I'm sort of assessing this like AJ Green's going to miss some time because it really seems that way. But obviously we don't know yet, so we can't go on it. So rest of the season, Gronk or Kelsey? We'll just play this game. Gronk or Kelsey? It's Kelsey, right?
Yes.
Ertz or Gronk?
Ertz.
Do you think Ertz gets a bit of a downgrade with Golden Tate around?
A bit of a downgrade, yeah, but I still expect him. He sees a steady amount of targets week in and week out, and honestly, it's the kind of thing I think he gets a downgrade maybe in volume, but an upgrade in efficiency. They're going to have one more weapon these defenses are going to have to prepare for. I still expect Ertz to get some red zone looks and be just fine.
Kittle or Gronk? It's Kittle for me.
Ooh. It's Kittle for me too, but that's where we're getting real close.
I don't even think that's close. I think you just want Kittle.
Really?
Yeah.
Even with your boy Nick Mullins at the helm.
All right, Jessie and Emerson back here with you on The Sweat. And yes, we do mean you at home. But now we're talking a party of 4 because DK Live, Shirag Hira, Nick Whalen of RotoWire have finally arrived.
Tears of Joy is where it's at. So you guys, we're going to need your top choice from the lower tiers of tonight's NBA tiers contest. Shirag, tier 4, who's your guy? Got a lot of options here.
I'm rolling with big man Andre Drummond. Hassan Whiteside is not going to play tonight. That opens it up really for the rebounding opportunity here for Drummond. And he's not facing Joel Embiid. He's facing Bam Adebayo. So I'm looking at Andre Drummond here, and I really feel that this is the opportunity for him to go out there and put up 20-20 game.
What about you, Nick? Who are you going with in Tier 4?
Yeah, I had Drummond on my list. I had Nikola Mirotic on my list, but I'm going to go with Drew Holiday. We already touched on kind of the extreme over-under in this game between the Pelicans and the Thunder tonight. Holiday got off to a little bit of a slow start to the season, but he's hit at least 41 DraftKings points in 5 of his last 6 games. He's also had 8 assists or more in each of his last 4, taking on a little bit more offensive responsibility as a playmaker, especially in the ongoing absence of Elfrid Payton. So I like his floor a lot in this matchup. I think he's eventually going to start shooting the ball better as well. I think he's shooting right around 20% from 3 on the season. This is a guy who is hovering closer to 35, 36%, when you go back over the last 4 or 5 years.
Hey, Nick, Tier 5, who tickles your fancy?
I'm going to go Tobias Harris. It was kind of down to him or Clint Capella, but I'll lean toward Harris. A couple other guys in this tier were banged up. Whiteside's obviously out. Tim Hardaway is going to play tonight, but, we'll see where he's really at. Harris gets a strong matchup against a very bad Timberwolves defense. Both these teams are top 12 in pace. And Minnesota, actually, over the weekend, earned the distinction of overtaking Washington as the league's worst defensive rebounding team. And Tobias Harris, as we know, is basically a points, rebounds, and threes contributor. So he's going to get the points. The threes kind of come along with that. And I think this is a matchup where he can exploit on the glass as well.
Shrog, Nick says it came down to Tobias Harris and Clint Capella for him in Tier 5. What about you?
I do like Clint Capella here, but I'm rolling with my man, Zach LaVine. He has a usage rate over 30% in his last 7 games. He's even hit a 40% usage rate. So this is an opportunity here against a poor Knicks team where Zach LaVine can really come out and show again that he's able to score over 30 points and be able to, have the upside here. That's kind of really what you're looking for at Tier 4 because all these guys are really safe and have a solid floor. But I think Zach LaVine has the highest upside here.
All right, Nick, Tier 6, lots of choices. Who makes the most sense to you?
So I was all in on Aaron Gordon, and the guys in the office here talked me out of that this afternoon. I'm going to go with Wendell Carter, 6,100, going up against the Knicks. His workload at this point looks to be firmly solidified in the low 30s, even into the mid 30s, in games where he can stay out of foul trouble, and games in which, of course, the Bulls can avoid being blown out, which I think tonight the Knicks meet both of those criteria. Carter took only 7 shots on Saturday against Houston. Still ended up with almost 44 DraftKings points by way of 13 rebounds, 4 blocks, 2 steals, and an assist. Hit all 6 of his free throws. Obviously, in that game, the 13 boards, the 4 blocks are great. But if he puts it all together, adds in some more assists, which we've seen over his last few games, hits a couple 3-pointers, which was something that was a really big part of the reason he was drafted in the top 10 and really hasn't carried over thus far. I think he's just going to get more and more comfortable, and he's really only scratching the surface of the kind of DFS producer he can be on a night-to-night basis.
Shrug, what about you? Who are you going to go with in Tier 6?
Well, I didn't get to go into the office today, so nobody could talk me off of it, so I'm rolling with Aaron Gordon here. Cleveland is the worst defensive team in the league, and there's no questions about it. Sam Decker is going to be matching up against Eric Gordon. I have to lock it in. Honestly, I had Aaron Gordon in all my lineups, but just hearing Wendell Carter, I love Wendell, so I'll get one in there, but Aaron Gordon's my man.
All right, gentlemen, need your slate-approved picks. Your lock of the night. Go ahead, Nick.
So last time I think I gave you guys Nemanja Bjelica. I'll go in the opposite direction this time. Look at the one of the higher priced guys. That's going to be Victor Oladipo at 8,200. I know the Rockets are somewhat back on track. They have Harden and Paul back, but they're still not a very good defensive team. They are such a bad defensive team, in fact, that they had to kind of coerce their 67-year-old assistant to come back and save them. Oladipo's coming off of 2 straight games with at least 50 DraftKings points. He's rebounding like a big man. I love his matchup tonight against James Harden. I'll go Victor Oladipo, 8,200.
Shrog, slate approved time, man.
Slate approved, Paul George, PG-13, top over-under in this slate. You have a guy that's in an elite matchup, and he's playing the minutes. That's what's really important here as well. I'm looking at Paul George, 8,800 in the top game of the day.
Hey, guys, real quick. I still haven't seen anything official about Anthony Davis, but we got some people here on YouTube that are a little concerned. Let's say he does play. Nick, how much do you trust this guy, or do you want to wait and see if that elbow heals up?
It's a good question. We've been tracking that all day. He's been listed as probable, and it's kind of strange that we haven't gotten anything quite yet. I would, I guess, feel pretty comfortable throwing him in there just because of that probable designation. But, it is Anthony Davis we're dealing with here. If he doesn't play, if you're worried about it, my first pivot would obviously be Mirotic.
Okay, what about you, Shrug? How comfortable would you be using this guy?
Oh, not at all.
Yeah.
I'm not comfortable using him at all tonight. Yes, he is probable to play. Yes, he has been playing a ton of minutes. Yes, his projected top total this game, but go somewhere else and spend your money wisely. It's a tough slate. There aren't a ton of value options here. I don't feel comfortable using Anthony Davis tonight, and I'm comfortable fading him.
All right, guys.
Great.
Good stuff.
That was wonderful.
Are you all set?
I'm good to go. I am.
Any
Yeah.
follow-ups?
No,
Okay.
I forgot we had like another package to roll
Right,
here.
yeah,
and stuff
one
like
more block to go.
Okay.
It's time for some showdown picks
Thanks, guys.
for tonight's Monday Night Football game between the Titans and Cowboys after Adam Kaufman catches up with Mike Francesa.
Adam Kaufman here with Mike Francesa. Of course, Mike from The Fan in New York, host of Mike's On. And Mike, we got one game left here in Week 9, and that is the Cowboys and Titans. It's not the most compelling or interesting game. We know that. Both teams 3-4, both coming off of byes, both coming off of close losses. But the most interesting wrinkle, especially for Dallas, is that now Amari Cooper is there, and we could talk all about him. But is this going to pay off? Is this going to work out for the two sides? Because they both got something to gain.
No, I think it was they badly overpaid. Now, listen, he'll help them. He'll elevate them a little bit, but he's never been what he was supposed to be. They badly overpaid. Nobody in the league other than Jerry would have paid that much for him. He could have got him for a lot less. But now that he's there, now it's about football. This is a good matchup for the Cowboys. Number one, Tennessee doesn't have a whole lot of offense. Number two, they can get to the quarterback because their offensive line surprisingly struggled. And I think Dallas will have a good performance here. I think this is a good matchup for them. Tennessee usually keeps them close, but I think this is a game that Dallas will just wear Tennessee down and break them in this game. I don't think Tennessee has enough firepower to beat the Cowboys in Dallas.
Are you a believer in Dak Prescott just in general?
No,
because Ezekiel Elliott runs the show there, quite literally, and we know how talented he is. Des Bryant was there, and he was helpful for a number of years, and Dak was terrific his rookie year, but has fallen off the map, maybe in part in coinciding right along with Des. This adding Amari Cooper, kind of a slap in the face to Des Bryant in the first place. But can Cooper rejuvenate him?
No, the problem there is they're camouflaging what's always been the issue. When he did well early on, and I think Prescott's a good kid, and I think he's not a bad leader, but he's not a guy who will beat you from the pocket. And even in his first year when he was so productive, he was the worst starting quarterback in the league on 3rd and long. He's not a guy that will beat you from the pocket. That's not his game. And now that they don't have the same offensive line, they don't have that dominant offensive line anymore, that's what's really hurt him the most. He's not getting 3rd and 1s and 2nd and 2s, and the plays that he can do, all his ball fakes and everything that works so well for him early on. So I think he's been exposed a little bit. I don't think he's terrible, but he's only average at best. But I think Monday night could be a good night for them.
The other side of that matchup, Marcus Mariota, it's sort of the ebb and flow, the up and down stock with this guy over the time that he has been in the NFL. But ultimately, is he any more than mediocre?
No, I never was a big fan, to be honest with you. Good kid, always was a great kid. Good college player. I never thought he would be that big a player. There were players who thought he would be a top flight player. Never thought it. In this league, I think mobility's great. You'd like to have guys who are mobile, like a Rodgers, who can throw the ball on the run, guys who can slide and move. It helps, but it's about being able to beat people from the pocket, and it's still about vision and accuracy. Those are the tools. Arm, vision, and accuracy is what wins for quarterbacks when it comes down to it. And you've got to eventually be able to beat people from the pocket in big spots if you're going to be a champion quarterback.
Mike, I'll let you go on that. Always a pleasure, my man.
Thank you. Talk next week. Thank you very much.
It's the final block of the show. We're back, you're back, and they're back.
Yeah,
Say
who is
hello
that?
to DK Live's Jeff Ulrich and Greg Ehrenberg, plus Tucker Silva of 98.5, the Sports Hub, co-host of their fantasy football show on Sunday mornings.
We've enjoyed having you on, Tucker. It's good to have a new face, a handsome face on this show, my friend.
Wow.
Hey, happy to be here.
What are you
Thanks
saying about Jeff
guys.
and Greg and yourself?
Well, we're all handsome together, even you. All right, we got to talk picks for tonight's Titans Cowboys showdown. Let's start with your captain's pick, Jeff. A lot of people blowing up Facebook and YouTube. They're a little pissed off we haven't hit this yet.
Okay, well, just calm down, people. The game doesn't start for an hour. Jeez. Look, I mean, look, it's Tennessee and Dallas. It's a 40-point game total here. So where do we go? I mean, you're looking here. none of the matchups look good. I mean, Dallas has really solid corners. I don't really want any piece of Corey Davis. Marcus Mariota's brutal. Then you look at the Dallas offense. You know, you might as well just go big. I mean, Dak Prescott's played pretty well over his last couple games. He's averaged like 25 DK points, and he's getting Amari Cooper in the lineup. The way you do attack the Titans is through the air. They have a really solid run defense with top 5 in the league. I think I just throw Amari Cooper in there. I really do. I think I'd throw him in there. Hope he comes through with that big game because you have a quarterback who's playing well. They gel right off the top. There you go. Dak's probably a safer play, but I'm going with Cooper anyways.
All right, Greg, who are you going with? We're talking 1.5 times the salary, but you get 1.5 times the points in return.
Yeah, I think like Jeff said, it's so hard to figure out where the production is coming from this game, and it might just be nowhere. Like maybe we just have a really good defensive game. But for me, I'm going to say
you should probably play the kickers. I mean, that's probably what we should be like, honestly.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I don't know if I did it for the captain, but for me, it's going to be Ezekiel Elliott just because he's the one guy who I do feel very confident is going to get volume. He's going to produce. Is he going to be some great value per dollar? No, but I don't know if anybody's going to be on this slate, so it might not matter. If you look at Elliott, he scored at least 15 DK points in every game, excluding last week at Washington. So I think there's a lot of safety in rostering Elliott, and I think that he's the one guy who we could feel confident is going to produce tonight.
Is it that hard for you, Tucker, to try to figure out where the production is going to come from and who to throw in your captain spot?
I mean, it's not hard because there's not a ton of offense in this game. I know we mentioned Amari Cooper, but I think he's sort of a question mark in his first game for the Cowboys. But you have Cooper, you have Elliott, and, you know, Dak, and that's pretty much it for offense. So for me personally, I actually am probably, for the captain at least, just because it's so affordable, I am going to go kicker to be safe and go with Brett Maher. Brett Maher is one of the more underrated kickers in the game. I mean, he took Dan Bailey's job away. He's averaging 10 fantasy points a game. He's had back-to-back home double-digit games, and he's had 3 double-digit games as a kicker. So it's 6,300. I mean, I think that's pretty affordable for the captain slot. And I just plug in those other guys.
Would not shock me at all to see the winning tournament lineups with a kicker in the captain spot.
Yeah.
But wouldn't shock me at all.
All right, well, if you made your captain's picks, it's kind of who you're paying up for. So what about where people can find some value on this slate, Tucker?
Well, one pick for me, it's really cheap. I love finding the diamonds in the rough, if you will. And at 3,800, I really don't mind Tajay Sharp. I think he may finally be finding his stride, perhaps. I know that's hard to say with Marcus Mariota, his quarterback, but last week we saw him with 7 receptions, 101 yards. This was a hyped rookie in 2016. He missed all of 2017 on IR. So maybe he is finally finding a stride. And the Cowboys defense, they're good, but they have been susceptible to slot wide receivers. They've allowed big games to Golden Tate, Tyler Lockett, and even D.D. Westbrook in that mix too. The Cowboys have allowed pretty big games against slot wide receivers. So at 3,800, I really don't mind Tajay Sharp. I really don't.
Jeff, who are you thinking for some value?
I was going to mention Tajay Sharp too, but I got another one because Nick's right. I mean, that matchup is where you want to attack the Cowboys. Their outside corners are 2 of the best in the game. But looking at the matchup, I mean, Jeff Swaim is probably going to miss this matchup for the Cowboys. So you have Blake Jarwin, you have Rico Gathers. Both these guys were in the mix. I think it's going to be Blake Jarwin. Blake Jarwin was getting some buzz preseason as he's going to be the pass catcher, the replacement for Jason Witten. It hasn't panned out. He's a rookie. Held him back a little bit for Swaim. I think he's going to start this game. Now, it could be Gathers, but I think if you're going to take a chance on them, you might as well go with the cheaper one in Jarwin. Like I said, he was really hyped up. He had a good preseason. One of these 2 is probably going to catch a few passes and might even see the end zone tonight. So I think if I had to take a chance on one, I'd go Jarwin, but it really could be either one of the 2.
Greg, if you're going to try to give the people some value, who are you looking at?
Yeah, so I'm going right back to the kickers. Ryan Suckup, only 3,400 for the Titans. One thing that makes these contests a little difficult sometimes that we have to roster players from both teams, and I just don't know where the Titans' production is going to come from. So I think it really makes sense to go to Ryan Suckup at the kicker. If this is going to be a low-scoring game, then unless they're going to get shut out, like they're going to have to kick like 1 or 2 field goals, which right away could be like 7 or 8 points. So I think that Suckup makes sense, and he should be a fairly safe value for only 3,400.
I just want to make a quick correction, by the way, guys.
Go ahead.
Tajay Sharp in Showdown is 5,200, not 3,800. I was looking at the other contest, so sorry about that.
It's all good, man. We weren't paying.
But still, I like it.
That's it.
Yeah,
done.
We were not paying attention. It's okay.
I screwed up.
Jeff.
Not handsome anymore either.
Oh, wow. You hate to see that happen.
All right, you three, settle down. Settle down. Cowboys are 5-point favorites entering tonight. Is that spread a little too high for a couple struggling teams here, Tucker?
No, I mean, I like the Cowboys tonight. I really do. I like them at 7, to be honest. I know they're 5-point favorites right now, but I don't think it's too high. The Cowboys are coming off a bye. They're at home. They're going to be showing their shiny new toy to Amari Cooper. They're going to be forcing him the ball, and maybe he'll have a big game. Who knows? But I really like the Cowboys tonight more so because the Titans' offense, it just isn't that great. It really isn't, and I just don't like the spot for the Titans heading to Dallas on primetime football. I really don't.
Jeff would love the Cowboys to be just force-feeding that guy because that's your captain's pick tonight, Jeffrey. But is this spread a little too high for a couple struggling teams?
I'm going to continue my streak of agreeing with Tucker about everything, and I promise people I'm not doing that just because he's new on the show. I like the Cowboys here, and it comes down to quarterback play. Dak Prescott's played pretty well the last couple games, and now he gets Amari Cooper. He's coming off a bye, working with a higher-end receiver. I think this is a good spot for the Cowboys. I'm just not high on the Titans at all. They just have not shown any upside at all during the year. Marcus Mariota, complete regression. So they beat teams in ugly ways on some fluky circumstances a couple of times. Like Greg was saying, they rely on their kicker a lot. So I think this is a good spot for the Cowboys. I wouldn't be shocked if they won by a touchdown or more.
Greg, Cowboys 5-point favorites. Is that spread too high?
No, I like Dallas tonight. We did get a producer's note before the show to be nice to Tucker, which is actually factually accurate. Although it also said or not. So, but if we look at the game tonight, the Dallas Cowboys, I think they're kind of trending up, and maybe the Titans trending down a little bit. The Titans got off to a decent start, and then have had 3 really rough games in a row where they've scored under 20 fantasy points. 20 total points, including a really bad loss to the Bills. And if we look at the Cowboys, kind of selling out to try to win this year, giving a first-round pick for Amari Cooper, it really shows you where their mindset's at. They're trying to do everything they can to win right now. So I do like the Cowboys tonight, and I do think it makes sense to go as high as 7 points for what they should be favored.
And I know some of you guys mentioned, but Swain, the backup tight end for Dallas, has been ruled out for tonight. He will not be playing. Oh, we're going to roll the DK alert. That is kind of breaking news. Kind of a big deal.
Yeah, he's out.
Real quick, guys, we did have a question. Someone was wanting to know on Facebook. Where is it? The better defense tonight, Jeff.
I think you got to go with Dallas. I mean, the Titans are going to be contrarian. They'll probably be really low owned, which is nice. But again, Dak's played well. They're going to run Zeke a lot. Like, there's not a lot of upside for Tennessee there. So definitely Dallas for me.
You agree with him there, Tucker?
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm pretty sure Sean Lee's coming back tonight too. And that defense is going to be all sorts of jacked up on Monday Night Football tonight. The Titans' offense just can't do much, and the corners on Dallas are just absolute beasts, led by Byron Jones. So I know that the contrarian play would probably be the Titans, but I'm just way more comfortable with the Cowboys at that price even.
Greg, right now it really doesn't matter what you think because I think it is time for you to pay up on the bet. I just want to tee this up again really quick. Do we have the video, guys, real quick? Can we roll what he said yesterday on the sweat? All right.
Hold on.
If Treadwell goes under 10 fantasy points, I will eat a lime with the rind as a promotion for the show next week.
Wow! I love this. We were recording. We were rolling on this show. Okay, so
you were
again,
so happy back then.
I'm just as happy now.
Time.
And by the way, if you want to know how much worse my day could have gotten, I also ended up blowing out my knee working out last night.
Oh.
So all of Sunday was a total mess for me. But Sunday, guys, every 11:30. We have the sweat. We have Jeff Ulrich touting Tevin Coleman.
Wow.
We have the wonderful Emerson, Lotzia, and Jessie Coffield as hosts. We have Steve Buchanan with the weather. We have Julian Edlow with something. And I have to pay off this bet right now. There's going to be more to be made.
Eat it!
Yeah!
Wow!
Oh my God!
Wow!
Puppy versus lemon.
Oh man, you're really housing that thing.
Well, it's really hard to probably bite through the skin. All right, chew it. Don't just. Let's see it.
I thought we were doing like a little
hold the side
piece.
of the. Oh my God!
Wow! You went to town on that.
Well,
good Lord.
You and that lemon, get a room, you two.
How gross is that?
That is disgusting.
Delicious. 11:30. We do the show again on Sunday.
Wow.
All right.
That's
well
true.
done. Hey,
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Greg.
Look, he gets to eat a lime next week when Nick Mullins goes for 30 points against the Giants.
That's true. And
Giants +3.
All right,
Yeah,
wonderful
guys,
work.
thank you so
hey,
much.
Tucker, welcome to the program.
Yeah. Hopefully,
thanks for having me, guys.
you don't have to
Appreciate
eat
it.
any
Fun.
lemon or limes anytime soon.
No.
This has been The Sweat. I'm Jessie. He's Emerson. We're back tomorrow at 6, and we'll see who's eating what then.
Wow.